welcome everybody to the 2024-25 UEFA Champions League. Welcome everybody to the UEFA Champions League.
UEFA Champions League will begin.
Good evening, Manchester City fans around the world, and welcome along to Matchday Live. Champions League nights are back at the Etihad Stadium. New format, but hopefully the same end result as what happened the last time we met our opponent. Who can forget that famous night in Istanbul when we were crowned Champions League winners for the first time in history? Here kicking off our first team tonight, we look like this. Ederson in goal. A back four consisting of Rico Lewis alongside Manuel Akanji, Ruben Diaz, and completing our back four, Josko Gvardiol comes in at left back. Moving into our midfield, it's his first start of the season. Rodri in that holding role alongside our king, Kevin De Bruyne. He plays with Bernardo Silva. And then we move to our front three. It consists of that young man there, one of our only signings of the summer. Savio starts tonight against Milan alongside Jack Grealish. And who else but the big man in imperious firm? Erling Haaland completes our starting 11. My name is Cel Spellman, and it is an absolute pleasure and privilege to be with you as we kick off our Champions League campaign. And not only that, look at whom joined by two absolute legends in the form of Izzy Christiansen and Michael Brown. Michael and Izzy, good evening. New format, but always the same result, hopefully, at the Etihad Stadium. We know it is a fortress. We'll be hoping to continue that tonight.
Well, we certainly got to start well. I think we did the draw here in these seats, wondering what was going to come our way, and it all become these 8 come straight out, and having time to think about what was next. And obviously, this draw was the one that stood out, and to be playing it first to set off the campaign, I think is really, really interesting. As lots of people have mentioned and will throughout the night, you would have wanted it a little bit later for certain. But here we go, it's on, it's exciting, that's what we want. Wonderful nights at the Etihad, we've seen some special ones. And it's ironic, isn't it, that it's against Inter Milan. So it should be a really interesting game, shouldn't it?
It really should, Izzy. And I guess as well, actually, we used to seeing City have a slow start to the season. I mean, we've thrown that one well out the window. We've got maximum points, some amazing performances, great goals. How important actually is it now having that form, given that it is such a big fixture to kick off the Champions League campaign?
Yeah, it's really important, but I also think Manchester City, they're always ready for it. The way they play, their style of play, it's always, they're born ready. And I think that, there's nothing better than a Champions League night in Manchester. It's a beautiful evening in Manchester. Sun's out, the sun will be setting over the stadium. De Bruyne's got the armband on, Rodri's back in the 11. I think it's what you want. It's what the fans want. I bet the atmosphere will be electric as well inside the stadium. And hopefully a really memorable European night here.
Well, I think Pep's even mentioned, I think how, we're almost a fortress in the Champions League. I know the Inter Milan manager as well referenced it. I mean, it's hard to remember the last time we were beaten at home in the Champions League. Has that become even more important given the new format, do you think, Michael?
I think it's the team to beat. I think everybody wants to come here and realise what this club's become. I think over 2 or 3 seasons now, they've become where this is the norm. Big games just come, no problem. Where before it would have been anticipation. Inter Milan coming to your stadium, Real Madrid's, etc. Now you're just sort of saying this is normal, everyday stuff for us, and the supporters were excited, not sort of affected. I think everybody's comfortable with the situation. Wonderful nights. We are now our own in the Champions League, and I think that is the difference. And nobody actually, it's not just going there and realising what team you're up against. Nobody wants to play City. We keep talking about it. They will not want this game more than us, looking and thinking, well, that's a tough start. That's a really terrible start if you're looking from the opposite side of the camp. So exciting times. I think it's really good. I think we've started really well, haven't we? I think that's That's the point for me, and setting the tone, confidence all around the place, a strong selection as expected. It's a big week of football, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. I mean, to be honest, getting into the team, I kind of was maybe thinking a few more changes from the team that played Brentford. Only 3 changes, but let's begin with one name that you've already mentioned. It's Rodri's first full start, and I mean, it's pointing out the obvious, but he's so key and fundamental. And how important is he going to be in tonight's game against that Inter Milan midfield, is he?
He's, invaluable. We've seen the rise of Rodri. Over the last 3-4 seasons, he's just been incredible to watch. Both former midfielders, we both know how difficult it is to play that position.
That's the most important position on the pitch, isn't it? We're telling you, that's why you've opened with Rodri.
Yeah, I concur.
Haaland, I mean, what's that all about?
This is a nice little trio of a midfield here, actually, to be honest with you.
You in the 10?
Yeah, me in the 10. Yeah,
I've seen him in there as well.
Any good?
Yeah, not bad. Okay. He's got the shirt, anyway.
Well, Rodri gives the players in front, Bernardo and De Bruyne, the licence to just go and join the attack. I mean, I cannot imagine anything better than playing with him behind you.
What do you think he brings? Like, what do you like about him? What's his strongest asset? Because that for me, I'm looking at it saying, well, at first he struggled a little bit to find his feet, but now he seems to have everything.
Well, he obviously didn't play in the Champions League final before they won it, did they? I can't remember what year it was, but I mean, there was massive talk about, yeah, that's right. And
it was against Chelsea when he missed out and Ilkay Gundogan came in.
That's exactly
and that was the biggest shot all around the stadium. And
I know, and Pep Guardiola had his reasons for it, of course. Like, you'd never ever question him; he's a genius. But we've seen the impact of Rodri since then, and it was almost like sometime in your career you have to go through a little bit of a setback, and you think with Rodri maybe that was the spark for him. I don't know, but a player of his quality, we've seen what he did at the Euros, and obviously came off in the final. And you're thinking, wow, Spain are going to struggle without him. And to be fair, they didn't. And the start of this season, when he's not been fully available, people are probably talking, how is City going to fare? Absolutely no problem. But him coming back into the team, it only enhances the way that City are going to be able to play.
I think he's one of those players who, I don't know what you think, is when you're going, well, I'm going to go and take the ball off him, you actually can't.
Yeah.
It's his stature, and there's players who have not been as big and bold who have also done it, but that arm comes up, that awareness, that balance just to turn away. And for me, going to get the ball back, I'm like saying, well, I'm going to try and move you this way, I'm going to get in around the other side. He just seems to have the answer every time. His position now is really good, and he affects the game in the final third. Now he's stepping forward, as we've seen with the goal in the Champions League. Obviously, that's what we're going to talk about today. But I think he's getting better and understanding the all-round game, and that's what's really impressive.
Is it a credit and testament to Rodri's performances in that position, the fact that the conversation is that he deserves the Ballon d'Or, particularly when we're so used to seeing it go into more attacking players? Does it actually show how good he is, the fact that it's being noticed and it's being talked up that he should maybe win it, Michael?
The midfielder?
You've got to be mad. You've got to be
there's been a few, hasn't there? Some special players, but, I think he's comfortable at everything he does now on the pitch. And this is talking about the top accolade in the world, in football. I feel like you need your teammates to be able to do that. You need results. You've got to deliver trophies, medals, etc., to be able to do that. So the team are around. They help each other. I think they're so humble and work for each other. I don't think it's just about Rodri. I think the implement around him, the 2 centre-backs that are just behind him, help Rodri. The people in front, the press starts. So I think it's the balance. Certain players do get that sort of recognition, and if they're a midfielder, we've got to give them even more, for sure.
Of course.
But, I think he's just so comfortable. I think he's at that stage now where he sort of goes, I'm here now, I play, and...
He's good at everything.
Yeah.
He's just good at everything. There wouldn't be any part of his game. You can pick out De Bruyne and go, his right foot is just elite. Like, he can do anything he wants with the football. Rodri can do the same, but he doesn't get in those positions where he scores as often, so probably people don't see it. But I think it's good to see him finally getting the recognition for how consistent he's been. And if, Manchester City don't have those titles if Rodri's not playing all the time. And that's not no discredit to the rest of the team. We know he's just that piece in the jigsaw which just makes everything tick, and it's no surprise to see him in the 11 tonight on a big European night against Inter.
Yeah, there was someone referred to him as the metronome of Manchester City, which I love that as a reference. We just saw the teams arriving there. They were live from the Etihad Stadium. Great welcome there for the boys. Young Rico Lewis. I mean, I can't stop talking about him, and I'm going to do it again because huge, to be starting as well on a Champions League night. Given that he started all the games of the season, you can see the trust that Pep's got in him, and
also it's a credit to his performances as well, Michael.
Well, it is a credit to his performances when you look at the player that's there in that position is Kyle Walker.
Kyle Walker.
Because what he'd done in the Euros, I think as well, he managed to have that change to go over to the left-hand side to go and play against Brentford as well. So that tells you something different, how intelligent he is, how comfortable he is to step in and understand what the position is. So we might see full-backs coming into more central areas. Rico Lewis, Josko Vardiol can do that, where a Walker might not do it so much in this game. But to be selected in this, that's a huge boost for him in that right-hand side position. And in this week, if he goes on to the Arsenal one, then you're sort of going, hey, he's cementing himself in this top team. And it happens. Pep, obviously, he's done it before. He's left players in. But I feel like he's a mainstay of the team now, right throughout the squad. No player really, I mean, he plays every single week in Pep's squad. You can have times where you're a month out and it must be hard to take. But I think he's been really impressive. And I can't believe how intelligent, how mature he is at such a young age and how he plays.
And he got the call up to England as well, Izzy. I mean, carrying on like this, can you make the argument that he deserves to have a place in that starting 11 as well?
For England?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, he played, didn't he, against Finland at Wembley. He started left back as well. So just to echo Michael's point, you know, he's versatile. He can play anywhere. And I think, yeah, of course, I think there is a right back spot, you know, there for England. I think, you know, Trent Alexander-Arnold's played well. He staked his claim last camp. I think Kyle Walker coming back in, you know what you're going to get from Kyle Walker. And I think Rico Lewis there, you've got maybe the left-back spot's a little bit more open than the right, perhaps, thinking about it. But he just needs to keep getting picked. He just needs to keep getting picked, get himself in front of the eyes. But I think what he's doing on a week-to-week basis here at Manchester City, it's interesting. You think about other positions, more offensive positions on the football pitch. And, you know, some managers have got like 2 players for each position, and they're 2 different types of players. With a fullback, we've never really spoken about having 2 different types of fullbacks for a position.
Yes.
But now we're looking at Kyle Walker, who's that sort of traditional sort of overlapping fullback. You know, we've seen so much success with Manchester City and fullbacks over the years. When I think about Zabaleta getting around the outside and cutting it back for those finishes.
Yeah.
People started figuring City out. So what does then Pep do? He evolves and he creates players like Rico Lewis, who just... I mean, the guy could start playing right back, he'd end up on the left wing, and it's part of the tactical structure. It's mad, but it completely...
This was a player who wasn't necessarily getting the minutes throughout the football club. At times, there was players coming over the top of him.
100%.
That they were being bought in, saying, we're not sure about this kid, we don't know where he's going to go. And all of a sudden, something that Pep's seen...
It was in a pre-season, wasn't it?
How he sees
he's created like a world-class footballer in the making. He's getting towards that level from somebody who not necessarily you're not sure about.
How do you get to that level of thinking where you're like, I'm going to play Rico Lewis as fullback, but I'm going to push him into midfield and then I'm going to push him into the 10 role? But he's still my fullback.
He said as well, didn't he, Pep? He said he's finally found a quality in Rico that he's not found in any other player, where he says on the football pitch, he's always available. And I don't know, I look at the City team, I feel like, well, players are available all the time, but for him to say that about Rico, that you put him anywhere and he will always be an option.
It's an art kill, because ultimately at certain times of the pitch, as a player who's going into midfield, and you always say, as a midfielder, my boy's doing it now, he's 14, and I'm watching him at times, he runs ahead of the game. So when the build-up behind him, you know, he doesn't necessarily, I'm saying they can't see you for that pass, so how would you drop off?
Yeah.
And that is the difference. At times he understands, will say, well, it's travelling down this left-hand side, somebody's stepped forward, then I might need to just drop here so the eye line away from the midfielder that I can just see the screen so they can see the line of the pass for me. Now, the next one, it might be a case I've just got to drift ahead of him a bit further.
Forward,
and that's the point that he's saying at different times, to do it more often than not.
Yes.
What's really impressive is doing it off the opposite side is difficult when you're coming in on the other foot. Do you agree? When you're the other side of the...
What's the word? Sensory awareness. Your awareness of where you are is completely different.
Yes.
And if you think about where a fullback plays, you know, the conventional fullback on the touchline, it's sort of like the old detail, get chalk on your boots.
Yeah.
You know, hug the touchline. But if you go from right to left, it's all of a sudden you're working off a different angle.
Yes.
And you're like, well, he's got 360 vision.
Yeah.
And you know, you mentioned about Rodri, you know, can't get the ball off him. I think Rico Lewis is the same type of player, but just different stature.
Yeah.
I reckon in training you cannot get near him.
Nah.
Because he's so sharp. He's probably thinking 3-4 passes
He's on
ahead.
the floor and then back up.
Yeah.
Do you know, like, you're always going to, like, he's gone and then he's back up.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
It's
like,
phenomenal. Well, that's one of the things me and our kid always point out is, like, you can see as well if you put your player camera on him, that there are other opposition players do go for him a little bit, understandably, but he never once gets, like, irate or chucks his hands in the air.
He's got a
he
little
just
bite,
keeps
you know.
on going.
He's
like,
got a little bite.
He's
got a little bit of aggression that you see.
Takes
and
one
all
to
of a
know one.
sudden, well, he gets caught, and I just see him have that reaction, to go. And he has to go, well, how far do I go with it?
He's not going to be the
But
one squaring up in a game.
No, but what I'm saying is that little reaction there,
Yes.
that little fight is what
like
the
it.
fire in your belly,
100%.
what just gets you over the line, gets you into a position where you might go and score a goal, you might save a particular attack, etc. And so I think his all-round game, which is good, it's not just, we're talking about how intelligent he is, how he gets
It's the other
into
aspects
positions.
as well.
He's
Yeah.
also, I think the last one, and I've talked about it a lot, it's hard to be critical. Once he gets a little bit better on the 1v1 situations or the real tricky wingers,
Yeah.
then he's got everything.
Yeah, wow.
And by the way, he's going to get that.
Yes, yeah.
Do you know, it's just time, maturity, 24, then you start to get stronger. Seen the progression of Phil Foden.
Yeah.
You know, now all of a sudden Phil's like, everything.
He's a man now, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, and
Strong.
you both have come through as young players, so you know that journey. How do you deal with that pressure? Because again, with Rico, it just seems like water off a duck's back. But you must feel that, you know, being at 19 and, you know, Pep putting that trust in you, and you're playing at the Etihad against Inter Milan on the opening night of the Champions League campaign. That you must feel that pressure, particularly as a kid.
The thing that, you know, your question makes me think about is the way that Pep's sort of developed Rico Lewis. He's brought him into the first team training environment. He would have been training. That's as an academy player going into that environment. Wow, you get a feel of it. You know, the ball's moving. You know, quicker. You get a sense of, wow, I'm going to have to really step up here. Once you find your feet in that environment, the next step is I want to get minutes. I want to play in Premier League fixtures. I want to play in Champions League games. And then with Rico Lewis, I think what Pep's done really well is he exposed him. At the start of last season, he exposed him. He played quite a bit at the start of last season. He didn't play as much throughout the mid and the end of the season. So he kind of had that little taste for it, and it builds up like an appetite to say, how much do you want it? Like, as in, how much are you going to then commit to what's next? You've felt what it's like to play in the Premier League against, you know, top wide players, top midfielders. Right, go and get better. And he's done that. He's taken the off-season. He's now getting picked for the England senior team. And like Michael said, I can't really... You know, I can't think of any part of his game where I'm like, yeah, he needs to work on that.
No. I don't think the pressure will be there. I think he'll just be so excited at this moment in time of what he's doing.
Yeah.
Do you know, he's so level-headed, wants to learn. I think that's the difference. I think a lot of younger players, when you start to get in this position, you get carried away. And then you're left out.
Yeah.
And you're like, why am I left out? Do you know, there's just none. You cannot do that here.
No.
Oscar Bob is one of the things as well. He's coming in, and Pep said his temperament is incredible.
Yeah.
And that's what they demand at this football club, for that progression to be right at the top, because you can't carry anybody else. So I think here you've got to almost take it quickly.
That's such a great point. I think it's like resilience.
Yeah.
I think they don't teach that in schools. You learn that in hardship. You learn that in elite environments. Like, to be resilient. Like, okay, you get knocked down, I'm going to go and try harder. And like you say, I think that's why Manchester City are at the top, from what I notice. I work in the girls' academy, and I can see it on a day-to-day basis. You need that resilience to be at this football club. And it's not, you know, it's not like it's not a bad thing. It's like you've got to deal with little setbacks. You've got to keep pushing. And then that's why a lot of players, young players, like in the professional game, as soon as they don't get the chance, they're knocking on the manager's door. Yeah. And I'm like, I doubt Pep's door gets knocked on.
Would you have knocked on it?
On Pep's door? Absolutely not.
What was your temperament?
I had quite a good temperament, because I always looked within.
Would you have gone and said, right, well, it's not going so well, you know, or something's gone, you know, a selection or whatever? Would you have gone and asked the question, or would you have not?
Yeah, I've done that before when it feels like the right time, but I always went in when I knew that I couldn't answer them. Hanging on the door.
Did you go?
No, it's that one after training, isn't it?
I've had some mixed conversations.
I'd love to know them.
There's a Portugal manager now, for instance. That was a really good conversation.
Ooh,
yeah. That was very good
at
at Wigan Athletic, yeah. I wish that was recorded.
I wish I was
that
a fly
was
on the wall
fun,
for
yeah.
that.
That was interesting.
How
I
long
didn't
did
play
the meeting
against
last?
Manchester United. I wasn't... it wasn't like, do you know where you get this now? Well, look forward to the next one. No. I need to play today.
So good. Also, actually, Izzy mentioned, obviously, you're coaching the young girls of the academy. Our women are also in action as we speak. It is a big European night for the club. We're able to kick off in a bit. They're playing in Paris in the first leg of the qualifying tie, and I can reveal they've just scored again to make it 3-0.
Class.
Amazing, amazing performance. We'll keep you updated as well as we go throughout the show until that hits full time. Let's pause here. We can now head over to Alistair Mann. Of course, he's bringing you commentary for tonight's game. Let's see what he made of tonight's team. He's pitchside.
Yeah, welcome to Pitchside. With me is Andy Morrison, who's co-commentator tonight. We'll talk about the fact that the last time City played Inter, he was also alongside me. Let's hope for a similar result. You've had a chance to digest the City team. What strikes you most about it?
I think it's predictable, Ali, and I think that's testament to continue, the way the team are playing. I think the belief the manager has in the team and the squad that he can change it from the weekend, and it looks equally strong. But we second guess, and I think a lot of managers second guess teams, but we know what City will do. There won't be a 5, they won't go to change the shape, it'll be predictable, and then it's up to Inter to try and stop it.
And Rico Lewis came off at half-time, but he starts again. Why do you think that he still wants Rico of all the players he could select in there?
I can't answer that, Ali, because there's obviously a tactical reason with the way the wing-backs were really hurting us in a way that we've never experienced for a long, long time, where City were getting run over and Pep flattened out the back four to deal with the width, and it nullified them, and had to sacrifice Rico. But he's back in tonight, and again, I think that speaks volumes of the manager's confidence and belief in such a young man.
Well, we spoke about Jack Grealish on Saturday. He keeps his place in the team again. Are we starting to see the Jack Grealish we saw in the treble-winning season?
I think so. I think there's a confidence there. I mean, we know how humble the man is. And at times last season maybe lost his way. It's relentless, isn't it? You think we're going into the Champions League final, winning it, and then the summer no break, and then you're back at it. And and I think that break in the summer, I think it's really helped him. He looks fresh. I think his touch is meticulous at the minute. Every time we switch the play with long diagonals, it's dead every time, and then they're in trouble, the opposition. So it's great to see him back to his very best.
Just a thought about the Saturday's game against Brentford. Do you think it was a really good warm-up for a game like this? Because Brentford posed a lot of challenges, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the way Inter went about the Champions League final, I thought the shape and I thought the detail was the best that I've probably ever seen. Apart from the weekend with Brentford, Ali, I thought they were so good in that final. The detail, the 5 at the back when they broke out, they were happy to lead one-on-one with Haaland. The left and right of the 3 stepped in to deal with our 10s. It was exceptional on the night, and when I look back at the game, I learnt so much from it as a coach. And then again at the weekend, I watched the game in detail against Brentford and the problems they caused. They'll try and do the same, and it'll be very similar, I think.
It's probably a good moment to tell you the Inter team. They are Jan Sommer in goal, Zielinski, Thuram, Acerbi, Çalhanoğlu, Barella, who's the captain, Augusto, Bisek, Darmian, Bastoni and Taremi. The thing that strikes me immediately, Andy, is how many key players they rested in Serie A at the weekend. I think that tells you a lot, doesn't it?
Well, I think it shows where their priorities are, perhaps in this early part of the season. But, I don't ever see Pep doing that, getting a game ahead of himself, taking his eye off the ball at Brentford. Because if you had, at the weekend, and thought that would have been an easy, preparation for this, you would have been, very, very wrong. And, they drew and dropped points. And I know, I've been in football long enough to know that you can't. Your focus is on that first game at the weekend, then deal with City afterwards. But respect for City, and what the problems they're going to cause tonight.
Talking of problems, and you alluded to it a moment or two ago, we were at that Champions League final, a night that we'll never forget. But when you look at the stats afterwards, it was probably Inter's night. They had double the amount of attempts, that last few minutes, it was a bit of a siege. What did that tell you that night about how good Inter can be on their day?
It told us so much. It told us about the psyche and the mind of a footballer, that we have got exceptional footballers who were very nervous on the night, and it affected their play. We had, I'm not going to name individuals, but there was 4 or 5 players who were so far off the pace, Ali. They were so nervous. They made decisions. Everything was safe, and it affected the performance of elite players. And but they found a way to win. And like I say, Inter were exceptional on the night, and I don't see them being any different tonight. They'll take great confidence from that game, and knowing that they can cause Manchester City problems, and I expect them to do tonight. But we'll also, we'll cause them a lot of problems.
Now, of course, because of the new format of the Champions League, there'll be no return game against Inter. It's effectively a one-off between these two tonight. In many ways, do you see this as a potential opponent in the latter stages?
I've got no idea. I've looked at I looked at the table today, and I'm still not completely sure how it materialised over this period of 7 or 8 games. But the best teams, the cream will come to the top, and you'll see the elite teams will be up there and qualify, and quite possibly, yeah. But what a way to start, Ali. Middle of September, and we've got Inter Milan at home in the Champions League. It doesn't get any better.
Do you see another 1-0 type game?
I don't. I think there'll be more goals in it. I think it'll be 2-1. That's my prediction very early. I think it'll be a 2-1, victory for City.
OK, well, those are the thoughts of Andy Morrison. Andy on co-commentary on what promises to be a fantastic night here at the Etihad Stadium. Don't forget to download the app, and you'll hear us both from the first minute to the last. Back to you, Kel.
You heard the man. Download. We're having that?
We got it.
We're having it?
Yeah.
Move on swiftly. Buzz in. Just download the app. Alistair Mann, Andy Morrison got commentary. Always a treat to get your thoughts, guys. Thank you. Another score update from Paris. Manchester City 4, Paris FC 0. Jess Park with 2 goals. Also an assist, so it seems like it's player of the match performance. Fowler as well. And Miedemar with the first goal as well. Our brand new signing has got us off to a flying start. So 4-0 in Paris. More goals going in. I'll let you know if they do. To the Milan team, Izzy, let's begin with what we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Big names missing from the starting 11. That surprised us.
Yeah, De Vrij, Dumfries, Martinez. A few glaring omissions there, considering this game, like the guys were saying, it's a one-off. Big European night in Manchester. You want to put out your big guns, but
There was changes at the weekend, and that you're looking and say, well, what type of team was he going to pull up? How does he approach it?
I think it's 6 or 7 changes from the team he played at the weekend.
Yeah.
And as well, there is the Milan derby coming up this weekend. Has that got something to do with it?
Could be resting people, but come on.
I know.
But anyway, I mean, it might be defensive with Inzaghi.
Yeah, but if you look at the City team, right? You saw is Pep resting anybody for the Arsenal game at the weekend? So I think everybody's trying to go as strong as they possibly can. I'm going to be amazed if anybody's resting for the weekend.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah.
About Martinez, though, I mean, Martinez has scored in each of the last 5 Champions League seasons. He's obviously, I think, their top goal scorer as well since he has signed. That's a big omission for me.
A huge call, isn't it? And I think these managers now making these decisions at times, and the fans are looking and going, why is that? Why you do it? I was covering a game last night and they made a particular change and the whole stadium booed, but they didn't actually see the build-up and the reason what was coming next. So then the build-up from the team was like one person went into a midfield area, the midfielder went into the wider positions. So actually the team looked a little bit more attacking than it first set out with the change. So I think supporters will be asking that question, won't they? Why do we come here if you don't go and get a goal? We'll just look at the history of goal. But we don't always know as well what players have gone through. Are they carrying a particular slight risk injury?
It's very true,
so it's all that for the weekend and longevity over this run. And let's be honest, this Champions League format now is not won on this game.
Nah.
I think we can see the strong sides for sure. Look at Pep's side, but I feel like there's a lot of time to recovery. Normally with the group stages, I think it's been predominantly that Pep's gone, right, we're targeting those 2 or 3 games straight away. Let's try and get the points in.
Yes.
We'll go quick early, and then we can try and see and adjust after that, to make sure we get through. So Big changes all around. I expect that at top football clubs. I'm looking to see, like Andy's just said there in the clip, how they're going to approach it. I expect more goals. Will they be a little bit braver? Will they sit behind? That's always interesting, isn't it? Because I'll tell you what, with that back three, Brentford come and changed their system when they came to at the weekend. And what they did is they didn't just go long. They didn't have set pieces. They played through very, very quickly. Yeah. Exceptional change. So will we see a little bit more of attacking football? Will it be counter-attacking? That's what's great in it. There'll be a little bit of a hangover from that Champions League. It's only natural.
Yeah, they probably will play on the counter-attack, but not as a sort of a negative mindset from the start. It's more like, you know, this is the base they build from. They do play with the back three traditionally. And against Manchester City in the Champions League final, it's how they played. And I think what they were so good at was the counter-attack, how you link play from the counter-attack. It wasn't just thoughtless, like kick it up long, chase it down. It actually had genuine thought around it, and that's why Martinez, you know, was so effective, because he's quite unpredictable.
Yes.
But I mean, like you said, I think the wing backs for Inter, Darmian in particular, will look to get forward. It's just how City deal with that.
Yes. The midfield three as well. So for Inter, how they're going to set, because we're looking straight away, and you imagine, well, Rico Lewis has been selected, so he's going to come inside. Josko Vardy will come in. We need to try and make more numbers. Because if they're going to sit back in that five, the three seem very rigid, out of possession, very good, organised. These teams that come here at this level, it's hard to break through. So we need to try and find a way. Midfield runner can go. Rico can step in to make the extra around those middle areas. I think that's going to be so important for City to try and gain that advantage quickly. Try and get Svinio away, Jack Grealish into better positions, and the service. I'm not sure there's that space is going to be. We talk about 1v1. We talk about Edison. Who leaves Haaland now 1-1 after what he's just done?
3v1 will just about do it, maybe. But
I mean, also you can't underestimate. I know we were saying about some big names missing there, but and we've talked about, you know, Man City's form in this competition, particularly at home. But Inter Milan have only lost 3 of their last 20 matches in this competition. So you also were saying as well, the pedigree and the form there speaks for itself, Izzy, regardless of personnel.
When you think about, well, growing up watching Italian, I used to watch Italian football, like the goal shows, the highlight shows, and it was always like amazing, like loads of flair, like exciting stuff. And I think that Italian teams now, you know, you talk about defensive. Traditionally, you talk about Italy as a national team, you think defensive, and you think you've got flair to go and win games, but they're always built off a solid sort of foundation. They've had some incredible defenders, you know, over the years. But you look at Inter and you go and you listen to what Pep said about Inter as well in the build-up to this game. He's spoken a lot about their mentality, and you literally cannot write them off. They can do anything like that in a game. I think that their pedigree speaks for itself, and inside the stadium tonight, I think it'll be electric.
There was something Pep got asked, you know, how much is the Arsenal game in your mind when selecting tonight's team, which of course Pep said absolutely nothing. The team has been chosen.
He might have a little look over his shoulder, if we're honest. I know he says he won't, but I think he has an idea what he's going to do at week.
On Sunday. Do you reckon already?
Yeah, he'll know exactly which way he's wanting to go.
Yeah.
Something in the game can change tonight, so he's already ready to adapt, but he will have the basis, the format, the way. They'll have already had to plan it.
Yes, yeah. Okay.
They'll already know the analysts. They'll have already looked and found a certain way. They'll already be guiding towards that, because they might have had to already do that a couple of days ago.
Yes.
You know, just to say, well, that's coming our way. We need to try and build on that in the Brentford game. Do you see a little pattern in that game to try and develop? I don't know. I think there's always patterns and things that he's got to look at. I think you have to do that. I think you're short-sighted if you just think, well, this is the next game. I don't think at this level now they can do that. I remember last season when we talked about Champions League games, they'd planned it 2 or 3 weeks earlier, just drifted in certain sessions for a Real Madrid game.
Wow. Okay,
so that then you can...
there's already a trend of saying we have to work on it. But with the games so many so quickly, it's hard to slot it in. It's not. If you got a free week, you go right. We can go Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to do right that particular build up, that play ready for that game.
Spot on.
And journey in it.
That's right. And then you can, in team meetings out on the grass, on the training pitch as well, you can give reference. You can be like, do you remember the press we did against Brentford? Do you remember the press we did against Inter? This is what we're doing tonight. This is what we're doing next week. So that kind of gives the players that point of reference, and you think back and I remember what we did against Brentford. I stand there when the ball's there. Like that's what a good coach is, really, essentially. But the other thing as well is, on your point, is do you reveal all your cards as well? Like if you plan tonight to play tonight the way that you want to play against Arsenal, do you leave something in your back pocket, or do you just forget about Arsenal and you've already planned on it, like Michael said? It's so fascinating.
I don't think he ever shows his cards, but I think there's always a trend. You know, when we come back this season, we've seen De Bruyne go out into wider positions, we've seen Bernardo from areas today. So will we see the fullbacks come into central positions, and that, you know, it's different. We've seen the fullbacks go into middle, centre-backs stepping in. There's always something that they're creating, that they're looking to evolve and change, and they're tested at different times. But do you know what throws it out? You couldn't see the goal in 22 seconds. You can have all the plan in all the world that you give a team a lift for a mistake, like we've seen against Brentford. Great recovery by the guys, actually, do you know? And it was a strong first half, but confidence was good, and I feel like the team are in a really good position. I think it's come at a good time, this game.
I agree as well, given as well their performances. We just saw there as well, actually, that's some of the Inter Milan fans arriving at the Etihad Stadium in fine voice and numbers by the sound of it. We're actually going to be catching up with some of the Inter Milan fans that have made the journey. They've been in London, so we'll hear from them a little bit later on in the show, but they are sure to be bringing the atmosphere to the Etihad.
Would you be any good on the drum, Kel?
Oh, mate, I'd be front and centre there.
Looks
somewhere there,
looks fairly...
Giving it the beans. I almost want to be the other way, do you know what I mean? Give it them back in my City shirt, in my brand new City shirt, might I add.
You can do the march in Juventus, couldn't you? Go away. You can drive all the City fans.
Yeah, well, listen, good content.
Take a drum.
Good content as well for the show. I'll go grab this when they're done with it full time. Let's actually hear from the people we've been speaking about. We're trying to get inside their heads, so let's actually hear from themselves. We can catch up from some of the best bits from Pep, Rodri and the Inter Milan keeper, Sommer.
Inter have many Champions League, we have just one, so winning was of course special, but if I analyze the game, it was so tight, because I said in the days before the final, remember how tough is the opponent. Now the people believe me more, because the people need to see really how strong they are. And but it's not a final now, it's a game at home. We are not going to go to Milan, it's completely different, and with our people try to, you know, our games at home, to try to do it.
Manchester City, they have a lot of quality. I played against them several times, and I know that this team it's a good team with a lot of quality, how I said, back, but as well in front, of course. And then they have Erling Haaland in front, a lot of power, fast, good shot, and we have to prepare a good performance from our side against a really good team in Europe, for sure. But as well, we have a lot of quality on our side, and we want to try to put our idea on the pitch tomorrow, our style of playing, and then will be a good game.
To be honest, very, very happy for everything that happened to me the last years. I mean, winning what we win, and in the last summer Euros with my country is just a dream. And it's the consequences of you know, the work hard and the consistency and never give up, you know, and this kind of thing. So I always said that individual awards is just the consequences of the work.
Some of the best bits from the pre-match conference there. I wanted to get your thoughts, guys. Obviously, we're entering a new format here in the Champions League. As Pep said there at the start, you know, it's not like we're going to then go over to Milan to play Inter. What are your thoughts on the new format, Brownie?
Time will tell. I'm excited by it, I must say. I think what's interesting is that, as Pep said, you get one go at it. You know, you don't get to recover.
Yeah.
Normally the analysts are on it and they say, well, OK, this is what happened this week, next week. I feel like that is an advantage to this football club in the Champions League, because I think there's such a good team behind the scenes. The detail, the knowledge, the way they can adapt and change. So they have many different ways to recover if something happens, and now you don't have that. I think it's exciting that the supporters get to go different places, lots of different changes, different visitors coming to the Etihad as well. And looking at that league table, it's going to be exciting over the weeks, isn't it? It starts to develop, to see where you can find yourself into that format, to finish in that top 8, to try and qualify. Obviously, it's expected that Manchester City go on and do that. But hopefully some of the games that have been poor, I'm not so sure after last night, certain scorelines that changed, but you're hoping that you're going to see much more competitive edges, because those teams can just still creep into the qualifying rounds. the qualifiers to get into that last 16. So that could be where it starts to get interesting later on.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, make of this kind of stat what you will. This came from Opta, saying that they're expecting you need to win around 4 games to qualify. Looking at those fixtures that are on your screen there, Izzy, I mean, some big teams in there. I'm looking at the ones at the back end, Juve and PSG, but also some of them away fixtures aren't easy either. Any ones that jump out to you?
Yeah, well,
I mean, Sporting obviously on their game 4.
Yeah, none of the games are easy at all in terms of the preparation, the midweek games in and around Premier League fixtures, of the games going on. So it's not ever going to be easy. But I think, you know, looking at the Juventus and the Paris Saint-Germain games in particular, I think, you know, this is what fans want to see.
Great games, aren't they?
Like,
Phenomenal.
it's unbelievable. It's what you want to see. And I think this is partly the reason why the new format has been introduced. It's to get higher quality games in this stage of the competition to kind of, over a longer period of time, develop European football. Like, have more teams that are able to go and beat the top. Because we were talking at the very start of the show about, you know, Manchester City and the dominance of this football club domestically.
Yes.
Now the challenge now is to go, what's next for Manchester City? It's to become, you know, a Real Madrid.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of status at the absolute, you know, top of the mountain of European football. So this new format, I think it'll take a bit of getting used to. I mean, I'm not 100% familiar with it myself yet. I need to really get my head around it. But it's, I think for the long term, the benefits of what I understand it to be are to increase the level of competition throughout Europe, which is only a good thing.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think it's there. I understand it now. I just don't know how the draw later on is going to affect the authenticity of, like, competitiveness to stay sort of true. If you've already got those 4 wins, how are you going to treat those last few games?
Yeah.
Because you could already get them so early.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm a bit unsure of the back end of it, of how it'll be. I think it's a nice change.
Yeah.
I think I see that we've been used to it for a long period of time, and I understand as well the players saying the extra games. I do get that.
Yeah.
Rodri's been vocal about that, hasn't he?
I think everybody has. I think
as a fan, I concur
other
as
football
well.
clubs have seen it. I think the interesting point is that the guys have gone right through every summer.
Yeah.
Internationally, cup competitions, your international teams. It's just a lot of fixtures. The squads can cope with it at the top end, for certain a little bit better. But you just look at next weekend, you go straight into an EFL Cup
on Tuesday night.
On the Tuesday from a Sunday.
Yeah.
That's not safe, really.
No, it's not. I know, and also as well, I mean, Rodri also said it as well, which is a great point. And I think what was also funny is that most fans agree as well, and they say it's more football for the fans, but the fans are there going, well, no, like, respect and appreciate the players. But it's no surprise you see Erling Haaland coming out and scoring 8-9 goals after having a proper break.
Yeah.
You know, Jack Grealish, of course, heartbroken to not make the England squad, but got that break. And as Alistair Mann said there, that he's looking like Jack Grealish of 2 seasons. That's no coincidence when they're getting the right time off, is it?
Yeah, absolutely spot on, Cal, because that's exactly it. Having that, you know, period of, you know, you normally get around 2 weeks off, wouldn't you, the guys, sometimes, when you've got a summer tournament with the national team. Two weeks off is nothing. But then physically nowadays, 2 weeks off is a lot, because you then have to start training to keep on top of it. How often do you see on players' social medias, you know, as soon as they've had a week off, they're back on it, you know, Jack Grealish is posting, you know, wherever he was in the beaming hot sunshine, you know, doing his work on the pitch. And it's great to see, because that's what the players now need to do to stay on top of their game physically. But it's how you get that work to rest ratio throughout the season. I think, you know, you alluded to it earlier, didn't you, Brownie, about Pep's resting players in the season. And I know at Barcelona they have the same model on the women's side. Every player in the squad knows they don't play every 4th game. So it's like a rotational thing, so they can almost plan a weekend off just to get that rest. And it's part of a periodisation thing. It's longer term. There's a lot of science attached to it. But I think that's what players need. That's why they need big squads.
Yeah.
We'd have a serious concern then for Arsenal at the weekend, wouldn't we? Be a bit worried at that period. Whoa.
Yeah. Hang on a minute. Here we go. De Bruyne's not available.
Can we change the format?
They've already booked the holidays.
But do you know when we talk about that? So, yeah, well, sorry, he's away.
He's gone to Prague for the weekend.
But do you know when you consider, I think, how Pep's evolved when he's come to this country, when he's first started regarding the training sessions, the mentality, the days you have to train. I think he realised quite quickly that it's different here. You give good days off. He gets them away because the amount of games the guys play, Saturday, Wednesday, Sunday, etc. He then says, right, that's downtime. So he tries to give them as much time as he possibly can. And when they've been away in these competitions, what he's done different, I've seen internationally after England, for instance, I was on site and the guys saying, well, we're going to be back in 2 weeks. Pep sort of gone 3 to 4 weeks for our guys. And they're like, how have you got that? I said, well, the manager does that. He trusts us with it.
Yeah.
And they come back a little bit fresher. So what was interesting for me at the start of the season when we're going to Chelsea and the Community Shield, I'm a bit concerned because I know the players, some of them have come back and had a great rest being on the tour, but the others haven't. I thought we'd be a bit light. But they managed to cope early, full credit to the guys who've come back, set off the momentum, and now look at the squad.
Yes.
Everyone's talking about the bench and how strong, everybody's now getting up to speed. We've seen 3 or 4 get minutes against Brentford.
Yeah.
But he's allowed them to rest. He's took a risk with it, and because of the strong start, I think it'll really benefit right throughout the season. And
especially in the back
full
end as
credit
well.
for him to do that. It's hard, isn't it? Because you're coming back, and imagine the owners are going to you, and other clubs are like, well, they've only trained a week. How do you expect him? No wonder we haven't started well after 1 week. But they say, well, this is the remit. This is what we follow. And back end of the season, we should come strong. And if you look at City, predominantly after Christmas, have been incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, guys. Right, let's pause here in the studio because can now head to FG. Hope he's well, my mate. He is alongside City legend Joleon Lescott and one of my favourites, Ali McCoist. Let's get their thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much, Kel. Welcome back to the Etihad. It's Champions League night, and it's only right that we bring in our VIPs for the Champions League night. Joleon Lescott, Ali McCoist. Ali, here we go again. Another season in the UEFA Champions League, a new format.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think there's some big games early in the tournament, and this tonight would prove that to be the case. And it's great. It's really exciting. I think all the top teams will be there again. I'm not seeing too many surprises, but the new format will hopefully bring, as I said, bigger games early in the competition.
Of course, our opponents today, Joleon, every City fan who will see that when we played against Inter Milan last time, everyone will be thinking about that game. It's completely different now. The format's completely different. But let's go back to that day, a special, special day.
Very special. Obviously, we was aware what was at stake. Here he goes, the legend. Nah, sir, you can interrupt. You can interrupt. Yeah, obviously, what was at stake? Not just Champions League, but the treble. So, iconic moment in the club's history. And a very special moment for me, obviously, as well. Being part of the early stages of the current City trajectory. But yeah, special moment as it would be for you.
Yeah, it was very special for me, just like it was seeing you in Sky Blue. Ali, I want to speak about Erling Haaland. Every time we're with you, we speak about him. It's not going to get boring because this man doesn't stop, does he?
No, I mean, but even by his own standards, it's been a ridiculous start of the season. I mean, what, 10 in 4 games, he's sitting at 99, he's looking for his 100th goal. I mean, there's every chance he'll get it tonight. I don't think it's surprising, if I was going to be honest, and I don't think it's coincidence that he had a good break in the summer. It's obviously been said before, he had a good break in the summer, probably got a little bit more time than most with the Euros been on to himself, and he has come back, and dear me, he just looks as though he's taking it to another level. Absolutely terrifying. Some brilliant goals. I love the goal at Chelsea. Shows a great strength and in a deft touch, but he's scoring all sorts of goals. I mean, you don't know where it'll end. You really don't.
Look, it's absolutely lovely to see. I'm going to ask you, Joleon, about that question, about the break. We heard what Rodri had to say. A lot of players have been vocal about it. You've played the game, of course, at the highest level. You've had games, I think you had a season with 55 games, I think it was, at City. The players, they are saying there is too many games. It does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's getting a lot. And I just think, from what Rodri's saying and what I've heard, I think that no one's asking the players. I think that's the biggest concern. It's that it's becoming so much about the entertainment and the business aspect of the game that they're not considering the most important aspect of the entity of the business, and that's the players. And I think if there was more understanding or more dialogue between the two parties and also between the organisations, UEFA want their competition to be the best, FIFA want theirs, and so again with the Club World Cup coming at the end of the season and that new format, that it's just an extended period of time, not just the games as well. I think if City go all the way, I think the last game of this season is the 14th of July, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. I mean, that's crazy for all of us being stood here as well, let alone the players. Let's talk about tonight then. How do you see it going? You've got a very good record here on Matchday Live. You're always welcome on the show. Is it going to keep going today?
Yeah, I think it will keep going tonight. bit of a, I don't know, describe myself as a lucky basket, but certainly things seem to go okay when I come and watch City. I always love coming to the stadium and watching the team. The one thing I would say, I was interested in having a laugh coming to the game tonight. I was looking at the players that didn't go on the City bench at the weekend.
Not bad. It's not better.
I mean, the boys that came off the bench were outstanding. The boys that never got on, equally outstanding. So I think, genuinely, do you know, it's one of these games tonight. I think probably both teams, if you're going to be brutally honest, would rather have faced each other in the tournament a little bit later. I'm not sure they'd want to play each other opening game. That said, I think if City turn up, as they would do with most teams, I think they'll win.
It's going to be a terrific game. I have to end this by asking you as a Scotsman what you make of what Jolien is doing in the England setup, because England started well, haven't they?
They have started well. I've not had a good close discussion with them yet, but...
You were late. It's coming. It's coming.
Definitely. No, clearly, I'm all kidding aside, joking aside, and wishing them all the very, very best. And I think he's got some decent players to play with and work with there. And if they don't win anything in the next 4 or 5, 6 years, I think it's Julian's fault, effectively.
Well, you heard it from the man
I'm going to pass the blame on for Ali for being late. I'm going to pass it on.
Jolien, how have you found the experience so far?
The experience is obviously surreal. Great experience, great opportunity to be asked to be part of that. And like Ali said, we've got some great talent, so hopefully we can just enjoy the 2 camps that we've got, or the 2 games coming up that we were in charge, and hopefully it's successful.
Well, it's a pleasure to see you doing so well, and of course it's a pleasure to have you here with us and doing so well yourself. Listen, we'll head back to the studio now. Let's hope that Ali's bringing the luck again.
Let's hope indeed, FG. Thank you so much, mate, and always a pleasure to have Ali McCoy on, and of course Jolien Lescott as well, and massive congratulations on that new role as well. Now, you probably noticed and thought, well, Kel, that is a lovely looking shirt, and I'd say, well, I agree. Thank you so much. Guys, would you concur?
Model. Well,
get that on my CV. Get that.
That's
there,
what they've drafted you in with it for, haven't they? Have you noticed how they didn't give us to it? It's outrageous.
But this is, of course, Manchester City's brand new 4th kit. It is the Definitely City line, designed none other by then Oasis's Noel Gallagher. You can see FG had the new bomber on. That is also his handwriting. It's going to be worn on a few select games throughout the season. Tonight is the only time we're going to get to see it at home. The boys will be wearing it against Inter, but its first showing has come over in Paris, where it is 5-0. Chloe Kelly with a 5th goal to make it 5-0 over in Paris. So it feels like, Izzy, this shirt's almost a bit of good luck, but hopefully, if they've done well for the girls, do well tonight.
It's got off to a good start, hasn't it? Let's over to the guys now.
And do we like the colour scheme?
Honestly, I think it's delightful.
Smart, isn't
I'm not sure it suits you, but it's really nice for a lot of the players will look really good in it.
The players, well, that's it. This is how it shouldn't look, but you'll see how it should look when you see the boys come out on it later as well. But do check it out, because also some of the leisure wear as well.
Go on, tell the truth. When you put it on, you went off and did your hair before you went on air.
100%,
yeah. You went on the right go.
I actually, I mean, if it's the first time it's been done, do you know what I mean? There we go. Look at that. Thanks.
It's gone down really well, hasn't it?
It's gone down. I think it's had one of the best opening week sales of any football Manchester City shirt as well, which it really is. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So make sure you check that out. And as I say as well, the leisure wear as well is lovely stuff. So the boys will be wearing that and in a few select games later on. Now, not only have our women teams been in action, we've also had our youth team in action. They, of course, took on Inter Milan. They will be as well playing in the new format, but they'll play 2 games less, so only play 6 games. They kicked off their campaign tonight, and it sadly finished in a 4-2 loss, but we can get the thoughts of their manager, Ben Wilkinson.
Ben, that obviously wasn't the result we wanted this afternoon. What's your assessment of the game and the performance?
Yeah, look, it was from a coach's point of view, like it was a difficult game in terms of such a good start. And to make such a positive start on the front foot, to then find yourself conceding 3 goals after 20 minutes is really, really disappointing. And then in any game of football, it's very hard to come back. So I think for us, it's just a case of learning the lessons of that, 20 minutes and even the way we conceded the 4th goal. I thought we were well on track to getting back in the game in the second half and doing a lot of good things, and I think we just needed to be patient and understand there was still a lot of time left into the game and we didn't need to force anything. So I think when we sit down and reflect on it, I think there's some obvious, really clear lessons, for a group of young players in terms of how to manage games and how to sort of make sure you come out on top on those fine margin moments. And yeah, some things we'll be disappointed about, but I'm sure when I watch it back as well, there's a lot of things to be pleased about from the performance and individually.
That's the thoughts of Ben Wilkinson after that 4-2 defeat. Farid Alfa-Reprecht with the 2 goals, who earlier on this week in an interview said he wants to be like Jeremy Doku, and well, he's going the right way about it with those 2 goals. Obviously not the result that you'd want Izzy to kick off any campaign, but it's so important, isn't it, I guess, for a young player's pathway to be going out and getting European experience as well as the domestic experience.
100%. I think this, I like the way that in the men's game, the Champions League format follows through into the youth teams as well. I was actually gutted I didn't get over and watch a bit the second half. I could hear the Tannoy announcing the players walking out, and I wanted to get over and have a watch of what they were doing, because I'm always very interested to see how the style of play goes throughout the club.
Yes.
So, yeah, hopefully in the coming weeks I'll be able to get to one of the 21s games and see how they're doing.
Yeah, I'll try and get here a bit early as well and come join you at a few of them. For Ben though as well,
Are you
obviously.
Sure? How early?
Yeah, I will be.
Just running a little bit.
Thank you very much. Not as late as Ali McCoist, so there we go.
It's I've had first-hand watching on some of these Champions League nights that the youngsters go at it, whether it be here, whether it be in away. And I've took in a few of the games, and it's brilliant. Do you know the support that they get? They're different in structure, coming up with different patterns of play, etc. Of how other countries adapt. I think they get that in a lot of format, but it becomes serious that they realise that they're in the level to go on and win it. And I think the judge, they used to travel together at one point, where all the teams, so you'd be getting on with the first team, going back. It's slightly different. They still have the travel. And go and be in similar positions, but again, when you just see it's at the next to the stadium is the Joy Stadium, that there's a lot of attention on them.
Yeah.
And I think they realise this is the game, and they're learning quite quickly how to adapt into bigger type games. I think you see certain training ground games that they used to, it just doesn't have the same sort of feel. So I think this is really the competitive edge that they need to take them to the next level. And you look at the pathway now it's created for other youngsters.
Absolutely. And listen, I don't know much, and I know there's tactics and there's players, but I did hear that they didn't have the new 4th shirt on. Just saying, maybe that would be where it went wrong. Just saying, Ben, possibly, who knows? When it looks this good, get it on, is what I say. But no, they'll be back in action, of course, when we are as well. But a team that have had this shirt on, they were the first to wear it, is our women's team. They've had the first leg of their qualifying game against Paris FC. It's just coming into stoppage time, but I think it is very safe to say that it is a big win for City in that first leg. 5-0. We know, actually, in the last few years, the women's team have struggled to get past this part of the competition. How massive of a win is this? And not just, obviously, for qualifying, but for kicking off this season, because there's been some great noises coming out the camp over the summer.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, that's one hell of a scoreline, considering the team they're playing, Paris FC, are a good side.
Yeah.
They knocked Arsenal out of this exact stage last season, so that just goes to show what they're capable of doing. So
beat Real Madrid as well, I think.
They did, season, they did. But for them to go over there, get 5-0 convincing win, bring them back here to the Joy Stadium next week, next Thursday night, I believe. I'll be there, going and watching. Looking forward to it. And selfishly would rather it have been a little bit tighter. Just so, we're talking about European nights, high intensity, but no, seriously, it's a fantastic win away from home. And just like the men on Sunday, we've got Man City against Arsenal at the Emirates on the start of the WSL. Yeah. So I think that's a fantastic game for City to come back here and get back to the training base and get prepped for that game before the Arsenal game.
Absolutely, and actually I can point out as well, not only of course you're going to be there, Izzy, Matchday Live, we'll be bringing you that game on Thursday, and I'm also going to be with you Sunday afternoon before the men's game. We're going to be bringing you all the build-up and the women's game as well against Arsenal, a name that Arsenal are familiar with, and now we are, is Miedema. Massive acquisition. She scored tonight as well. I mean, her stats speak for themselves, Brownie, but a great signing for the club, and couldn't ask for a better start with a goal against Paris tonight.
Fabulous. I think when you come to a new club, you want to see how you can get away on the score sheet. I think, like Izzy said, psychologically it'll be a massive lift to go and get a big result like that to build on. I think for quite a few seasons now, you've watched the development here at CFA of how they've tried to improve, to try to bring trophies, try to develop. I think it's not always been about as well is being able to have the richest in signings capability, to bring the top players. It's all about development. But now I feel like the squad is getting stronger, and they're being able to get a couple more marquee signings that are going to take them that little bit quicker onto success. So I think really strong things. I think we're seeing a bigger infrastructure at the football club. I think that's going to help Gareth as well with regards to getting better and better. So a real positive outcome.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting for our women's team this season, and that is full-time over in Paris, 5-0. I mean, Izzy, you'll be privy to it as well, but I know we're opening up their own building for our women's team. Speaking of the academy as well, how's it going in the coaching role as well? For those who don't know, Izzy, you're coaching the
16s.
the 16s. How's it all going, and how are our young girls looking?
Class, absolutely loving it so far. I've been in the post about 6 weeks now. Been a lot to take in. It's difficult going from being a player to a coach. You see a whole different side of things. Firstly, the admin and the pastoral side of it. There's a lot of prep, a lot of planning, a lot of stuff online, having to get your head around. I'm not the most tech-savvy person in the world, so getting on the online sort of session planning platforms has been a task in itself. But no, I think the academy is in a very good place, and I think feels like this year is a bit of a start of a new dawn and a new era of the academy. I mean, the objective is to get 2 academy players every 2 years into the first team. So that's our role. You know, we've got the under 12s, under 14s, under 16s, and we've got the EDS squad as well. So we've had a few players that have pushed up this season into the first team. They've had invaluable minutes in their pre-season tour in Australia against the likes of PSG. I mean, we were speaking about the boys playing, you know, the EDS team here playing into this afternoon, you know, the exposure, getting, you know, top European exposure at that level. It's fantastic for the girls, and I think it's a very welcome challenge, and I'm just trying to, you know, deliver my enthusiasm and understanding of the game to these players, you know, and in little bits and sort of digestible chunks, because I'm aware that, you know, working with youth players is very much different to working with senior players. But I mean, the long-term goal for me personally is to go and be a head coach somewhere. But for now, this is superb. I absolutely love being part of the club again.
Do you find like you're getting that grounding, and obviously just being brought into it a little bit, understanding your voice? When you first stood there, I don't know why, I did it briefly at Port Vale, didn't last long as manager, but I did coach first a little bit for a year or so, then go into the role of being a head coach or manager, etc. I found it a bit where you're standing there in front of these players, delivering the voice of being a bit strange, you know, saying, come on, man, this is what we're going to do. Everybody's looking at you, focusing in, and then how do you go and develop the sessions? And do you have a little bit of help with the sessions within it, or for other people?
Without a doubt. I mean, the head coach I'm working with, she's absolutely fantastic. She's absolutely on it, and you have to be. And she's full time. I'm only, you know, part time. I'd love to be in more, but people probably know I'm on other stuff as well. Busy. But no, I absolutely love it, and we work really well together. I think that's part of what you say. It's the rapport, and myself and the head coach Lauren Aldred, her name is, and she's been at the club for a few years. She's had a lot of experience working in America, and we just seem to have had this instant click. We see the game the same way, and we find each other speaking in our own heads what the other one's saying. So we're obviously on the same page. And she actually said to me this afternoon, it's really great having you in, because she can trust me to deliver like analysis lessons with the girls, you know, going through clips online. You know, this is all part of the players' development. And she knows I'm going to say what she's going to say. So then the girls are getting consistent messages, and therefore it becomes easier for them to digest it. And on the pitch, they understand what we want them to do. But you'll know this. It helps having a club philosophy like Manchester City's.
What type of head coach is she going to be? That's the point. Is she going to be strict? Is she going to be good? Is she going to be like, you know?
I think it would be. I can see like being absolutely sound until you get on the wrong side. One of them you just wouldn't want to mess around with, Izzy. Do you know what I mean?
The bite comes.
I think I can see that.
You're not playing.
The interesting thing is, I don't know what I'll be either, and I think that's where you discover yourself,
when you knock on the door.
I'll be waiting for that knock.
I wouldn't be knocking on Izzy's door. anyway.
I'll have one of those pin codes on it.
But no, Izzy, wish you all the love and luck for
Thank
that
you very much.
as well.
Cheers.
Brilliant stuff. Right, let's hear from an Inter Milan legend quickly. Inter Milan treble winner Goran Pandev. He is now alongside Alistair Mann.
Welcome to pitchside. I've got former Inter Milan player Goran Pandev. Unfortunately, I don't speak Macedonian. He does speak good Italian, and I have an interpreter with me, so we'll hopefully get through this. The first question, what are your memories of the 2010 Champions League final?
Buonasera a tutti e grazie per l'invito. Quella 2010 me la ricorderò per tutta la vita perché è una notte speciale, una notte magica. Era un sogno da bambino vincere la Champions, poi vincere con questa maglia, con la maglia di Inter, è ancora più bello perché Inter è la squadra che mi ha portato in Italia, mi ha fatto crescere e sono felicissimo che siamo riusciti a vincere la Champions perché la Champions è la competizione più importante in Europa.
Good evening, everyone. That night is unbelievable, unforgettable. It was my dream when I was a baby to win that title with Inter. Inter is a special team for me because they brought me in Italy. I grew up with Inter, so winning the title with Inter was really special and it's still very special for me.
Was that treble-winning season the highlight of your career?
Il triplete e quella stagione sono stati il tuo punto più alto della carriera, secondo te?
Ma sicuramente sì, perché abbiamo vinto le triplette, abbiamo vinto il Scudetto, la Coppa Italia, poi in quell'anno abbiamo vinto la Supercoppa italiana, mondiale per i club, e ci mancava solo la Supercoppa europea, però questo era il traguardo più grande nella carriera mia.
Yeah, I think that was the peak of my career. On that season we won also other trophies like the Italian Super Cup, the FIFA World Club Cup, so we didn't win only one trophy, but I think that season was the peak of my career for sure.
You weren't at Inter as long as, say, Genoa, but what will always be your thoughts and memories of playing for Internazionale?
Hai giocato per l'Inter, per il Genoa, quali sono le tue memorie, i tuoi ricordi legati all'Inter?
Ma come ho detto prima, i ricordi sono tantissimi perché sono arrivato da ragazzino, ho vinto anche con la primavera di Scudetto con Inter, poi Inter mi ha fatto giocare nei grandi palcoscenici come stadi così, giocare nella Champions è massimo perché ogni giocatore vuole arrivare a questi livelli, giocare alla Champions perché è la competizione più importante. Io sono riuscito a farla con la maglia dell'Inter e ero felicissimo.
Yeah, I had a lot of great memories with Inter. I played in the youth sector for Inter and I won as well in the youth sector, so I have a special bond with that club, also because I had the chance to play in beautiful stadiums like this one and to win the Champions League. That of course is the dream for every player in the world.
And what was it like playing for Jose Mourinho?
Com'è stato giocare per José Mourinho?
Ma molto facile perché è una persona speciale per me, per quel periodo, per tutta la squadra, per tutti i tifosi dell'Inter. Lo sappiamo, con lui abbiamo vinto il trofeo più importante in Europa, una persona molto importante per noi e ero felicissimo giocare per lui.
Yeah, it was easy actually because it is a special person for me, for the players, for the fans, and it was very easy to play with him and for him, and yes, it was very important for the whole squad.
And my final question, what do you expect tonight's game?
Ultima domanda ovviamente riguardante stasera, che cosa ti aspetti per questa sera?
Mi aspetto una partita difficile per Inter perché Manchester è una squadra forte, la favorita di vincere la Champions, però Inter è forte uguale, è una squadra molto forte, anche quest'anno si è rinforzata ancora di più, hai dimostrato negli ultimi anni che se la può giocare con tutti e io stasera mi aspetto una partita molto bella.
I think it's going to be a tough game. Of course, City is one of the favorite team, and they're going to run for the win, for the final win. But also Inter has a strong players. Of course, they will fight. So I think it's going to be a fight. I mean, a good fight and a tough match.
Thank you very much for your time. a legend, a treble winner, and also a Champions League winner with Inter, Goran Pandev. Back to you.
Grazie.
Grazie mille to Goran Pandev there. Like that one, there we go. And from an Inter Milan legend to the London Inter Milan Supporters Club, we join them on their journey down here. So let's catch up with them and see what they're making of tonight's game.
I'm Chiara, I'm the former president of Inter Club London. It's a super fan club of Inter Milan, and we are an official one. So we are 560 of us in London, and we are here today to watch the match against Manchester City. And it's 186 of us here today. I was in Istanbul to watch the final, and it didn't go well for us, but it was a great experience overall. We thought we didn't have any chance, and in the end we could have won, so it was a great match. I do think that with a little bit of luck, so if we don't get any injuries, our starting 11 is a really, really strong starting 11, so we can go through. I am quite confident. If we win, it will be like by a really like 1-0 if we win, but it's going to be really tough. I know that Man City hasn't lost a game at home like for ages, so it might be a draw, hopefully, but if not, we'll win it 1-0.
Oh, okay. I like a bit of fighting talk. Don't know about that, though. But lovely to have you on the show. Thanks to the guys there. I'm sure they'll be in the stadium now. Now, did you know this is only the second time that we've met Inter in a European competition? We've met them once before, and I'm just trying to remember. Was there anything significant about the last time we met Inter, Michael, on
I'm not
the
sure.
June the 10th? June the 10th.
Trying to think.
I feel like something happened that game.
I was away for a few days that week. I know that.
Yeah, I feel like I was.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've recovered.
No. Of course, we're talking about that night, that goal when we secured the treble, and not just that, secured a Champions League crown. It's hard to kind of, as you say, the whole thing almost it feels like a dream, a bit of a blur. I mean, I don't know how many times I must have watched this. It was quite interesting as well to me. I think Pep said that it was only the second time he's watched the game back in full. But before we get a kind of, prediction, what was the highlight of this weekend, Brownie?
Do you know, for me, we were there watching the game, obviously working on the game, and I remember sat looking at the game and I'm thinking, here we go again. Do you know, I just felt in the game it wasn't going to fall, that we weren't going to get that win and finally lift the trophy. And I remember that ball just cutting back and watching Rodri as a midfielder, you sort of thought, see it? And I'm thinking he's going on to this. And I'm almost like, I'm going up like that. And it just goes in, and I just remember everybody, the feeling. I thought, wow, that's it. We're right in with a shout now, this is it. And it was just a brilliant feeling, rushing through everyone, watching the joy of everyone's hard work for such a long time. This wasn't just one season. This was for 10 seasons waiting to develop to get into that position to finally do it. Everybody sort of laughing at City for not being able to deliver the Champions League trophy. And then I just felt like from then on, the celebrations and the way the club looked after everybody that night of enjoyment and the next day or two was just amazing, wasn't it? Memories for everybody, for all the players, the staff. I think it was, I think for so many people, I think it was such a special occasion. And that's what this trophy does, doesn't it? Do you know, if you can get into that position, so wonderful moments for everybody. I think that was the pinnacle, wasn't it, of everybody. We've seen some Premier Leagues, but in recent years, that was just an amazing moment.
It was indeed. I mean, we could carry on gushing about it, but the show has been that full. It's flown by. The teams are in the tunnel. I will say my favourite memory from that night was the midfield masterclass from John Stones. Honestly, go back and just watch John Stones' highlight reel from that game. The guy took the mick out of a three-man Italian man midfield on his own. But we'll maybe talk about it more at half-time, so make sure you come join us. Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison have got commentary. Quick prediction, please, Izzy.
I'm so glad you went Izzy first. Brilliant.
2-0 City.
Lovely. 2-0. Brownie?
Oh, that's a big call. I've got no idea, to be honest, Kel. I just don't know which way it's going to go, if I'm honest. I'm normally very good and I am indecisive. I'm going to say a City when you want to score off me as well, don't you?
Yes, please.
2-1.
2-1 and 2-0 here in the studio. What's yours at home, sure it's a City win. Thank you for joining us. As I say, Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison are your commentary team. We'll be back at half-time and full-time. Thanks, Izzy. Thanks, Brownie. And thank you to you. Come on, City.
Thank you, Kel. A new look Champions League begins with a repeat of the fixture, which will forever be mentioned in City folklore, as Inter Milan are the opponents at the Etihad Stadium. The thought of the previous meeting of the two in June 2023 will likely bring tears of joy to fans who'll never forget that night. The night that City finally won the Champions League and completed an historic